Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Polkadot broadcast. It's Kristen here. And for this episode, we're going to talk about the Polkadot Hub. In the first month of 2026, the long anticipated smart contract have finally gone live on Polkadot Hub. So our main topic today is that with the long anticipated smart contract now live, what are the most meaningful and realistic possibilities for Polkadot in 2026? So joining me today are three long-standing projects, Ben from Hydration, and Tyrone from Bifrost, and Shawn from Hyperbridge, and welcome you guys.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
Hey, guys.
Apologies for my lack of a camera. My phone's camera is not working at the moment, and that's what I use for my webcam.
Yeah, it's okay. We can get your voice very clearly, and and after our conversation, Polkadot also will summarize our conversation in the test version and published in our WeChat account. So no worries about the picture. Without further ado, let's kick it off. First of all, because this is our monthly roundtable, our first goal is always to help the community quickly understand what is happening in the Polkadot ecosystem. So to start with, I'd like to invite each of you guys briefly introduce yourself and also share, over the past months or year or period, what has been the development within your project that made you most proud of or excite you most. So Ben, how about you kick it off?
Yeah, hi, I'm Ben, or Lol McShiz. I'm COO of Intergalactic. We're the guys who built Hydration. So what we're most proud of, probably over the last year-ish, we finalized the sort of three different pillars of our DeFi stack, the swaps, borrowing and lending, and stablecoin. We're finally able to bring that to a head when we launched Holla, our over-collateralized stablecoin, which we scaled up to about 15 million supply, I think last month. Tracked a little bit since, just with recent market conditions. But broadly, it's built a fairly solid foundation there. So it's good to see those three pieces come together, reflect on that, reflect on the what that's delivered for us, what it allows us to do, and then able to sort of then map out, okay, what's next? How can we utilize that stack now rather than just adding new pieces? How can we make it better? How can we build products that make use of it? And what can we add to it? And over Sub-Zero, you would have heard mentioned about perpetuals and various other things that can sort of add as additional things on there. But yeah, I'd say Holla's probably the number one achievement during that time.
Yeah, it's what a productive year, and Hydration is definitely the leading DeFi in Polkadot ecosystem, and Holla also did very good job. So now let's welcome Tyrone. What made you most proud of from Bifrost?
Yeah, thanks for kicking this off. Hey guys, my name is Tyrone. I'm from Bifrost, which is the protocol for providing omni-chain staking yield layer. So in the last year, we rebranding ourselves as the new brand for the yield layer. And exactly, yes, and the technical mechanism that we utilizing Hyperbridge to provide the liquid staking rewards to lots of omni-chain. That's how we defining ourselves. So for example, like we initiated DeFi Singularity campaign with Hyperbridge, and which makes EVM users in different chains to stake DOT and provide the DOT liquidity in different chains. So that's a quite a meaningful milestone for us. And then last year we VDOT accumulated, which is breaks through about 25 million dots. So it is quite a milestone there. And the other thing is by integrating the hyperbridge that we can easily provide the services to external blockchains. And right now we're collaborating with Pharos. So we provide the service as well by underlyingly using hyperbridge to provide something like a XEM cross-chain liquid staking service to Pharos. So that's well happening in the maybe Q2 or Q3 to officialize this feature in this year. So quite exciting news that we can announce for. Yes, I think that's all.
Okay, exploring to more ecosystems and also incentive activities. And how about Sean?
Yeah, definitely. So generally, we've been exploring new chains and seeing how we can bring Hyperbridge to a lot of these new chains. Of course, we're supporting Bifrost in bringing Hyperbridge to Ferris Network. We recently completed our implementation for Beacon Kit, which opens us up to Barachain and Zero G and a lot of other chains that use that consensus mechanism. And apart from the infrastructure side, we're also wrapping up the Intense V2. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this, but Intense V2 essentially is our take on fully decentralized cross-chain intents. So a system where fillers, they compete to provide the best quotes for users, and then they actually sign transactions. They sign these gas abstracted transactions that anyone can execute actually. And they make these transactions available on Hyperbridge, and the user or the SDK we provide will pick the best one and sign over it and select it to be executed for intent. So this is really, really powerful. I think a lot of protocols today don't really host these decentralized sort of competition for fillers. We find that every single person just runs their own filler, right? Like Across runs their own filler, Relay runs their own filler, dBridge runs their own filler. It's basically the same thing. And the issue here is a trust issue, right? Like, why should other people bring their capital to your protocol and trust that your protocol is going to continue to behave correctly, right? This is something I think only Hyperbridge is well positioned to do. Also, in terms of expanding to more chains, of course, we recently completed our test and integration on Polkadot Hub, so we'll be able to support builders on Polkadot Hub on day one, builders like Bifrost, and all the OG builders who are still in the ecosystem, and even new builders that are bringing their protocols to the ecosystem. So these are the things that we've been working on, and hopefully we can deploy on Polkadot Hub before Q1 passes. Mainnet,
Wow.
of course.
Wow, very exciting. Thanks for sharing. Okay, now let's move to our main topic, Polkadot Hub. The first topic is to Bifrost and to Tyrene, and it is very exciting because the market is hitting the low point, and there's not very much positive voices from a Polkadot ecosystem for long, but we can see that Bifrost from the beginning is growing in the Polkadot ecosystem, and your protocol revenue surpassed 8 million, and that marks that your project already transit into a very mature phases that you can generate your own revenue and sustainable all by yourself. So this is really a very successful examples for Polkadot ecosystem. So looking back from this point, what core compatibilities do you think Bifrost has already proven? And looking ahead to 2026, which areas or strengths are you most eager to further scale?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we've been building the field for 6 years. I guess hydration does as well. So initially we're doing crop loan things from the start in 2020, and then right now, lots of scenarios of DeFi use stage have been building on. So in the last year, maybe not last year, but the past 2 years, that the VDOT staking volume have been raised about um, uh, 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 15 million. So I think there's the half from hydration, the utility from hydration in the borrowing and lending, and also the launch of Holla, so which brings collateralized for VDOT, and that's a massive rising on the dot staking as well. And regarding these questions, so Bifrost making the protocol revenue, I think this is being top of 100 if you search it in DeFi Llama. So that's the result in the past years. So we launched a new tokenomics, BBBNC, which is sharing the protocol revenue with our native token holders. That's one. And the other thing is that we're expanding the partners for the liquid staking. So easily saying is how Bifrost making profit is we actually taking the commission from the staking rewards, so which means larger of staking accumulation and the larger of protocol revenue that we got. The reward sharing program is that we sharing the revenue with any partners that engaged in Bifrost staking. So give you a simple example like Subscan, which they have, I think they've got about 20,000 dot profit from Bifrost, but the integration is like they embedded the dot staking and also Glamour staking and other V token staking embedded in the asset. So if you have a if you have an address and you search it in the Subscan, you can easily see that you have a stake button on the right of your asset, so you can easily go to Bifrost and stake the asset. So that's one case study that we've been partnered with Subscan, and also we have a lot of network with staking and revenue sharing with other partners. So that's how we reaching out the protocol revenue in top 100 in DeFi protocols in the last years. Regarding the further of 2026, I think the big news right now is that the EVM have been officially launched in Polkadot Hub, which is also the asset hub in, I think it's 28th, right? January 28th. And maybe we will building some AI stuffs and also, cool little ED stuffs at the beginning in the launch of EVM Polkadot Hub. So for example, like maybe we'll do something like a game, like a pixel game to let the users easily leverage EVM to paint drawing in a small product to make fun. And then we will researching about how to do something AI stuff like, some example like using similar things like ERC 8004 or ERC 7683, which makes easier for the automation of settlement in PayFi. And the asset of VDOT and any V token can be easily using as the asset for the settlement. So that's kind of scenarios that we can do the brainstorming in the asset hub EVM. And PVM, of course, we are doing the researching as well. And let's see, what's the big progress have been made for the parity, and if there's any hackathon, we'd love to see, what projects will be migrated to Polkadot. So for the EVM, I think for the EVM, the next step in the roadmap of parity will be, they were very, very welcome to see many mature projects can easily migrate to Polkadot EVM, and there will be existing utilizing of DeFi can be migrated there, like stable coins. So that's something that we would like to see and like to engage in.
Okay, V tokens plus AI, which is really a innovative product. Okay, but for any kinds of product deployed on the Polkadot Hub, liquidity is necessary for every depth. So next question is to Ben from Hydration. For DeFi, liquidity remains both the most critical and the most resource incentive challenge. How do you see the liquidity challenge on the hub? How can the hub effectively, aggregate liquidity? Because Polkadot Hub already have the smart contract alive, but they want to attract more developers to deploy dApps on. But if there's not enough liquidity and developers prefer to choose other chains that already have a amount of liquidity, like BNB, like Base or other chain else. So what's your take on this?
So with the Polkadot Hub, obviously we've been waiting for some time as an ecosystem for this to go live. That's just happened in the last few days. We've seen in recent months, let's say, a strategic shift. Our expectations had been for a while that there would be a big launch when the smart contracts went live, where we would have a big all singing. And you remember because we had a few discussions when we did our last incentives proposal, right? We were going to have a joint proposal in order to bring as much liquidity as possible to the ecosystem as a whole. We also know that we had the likes of Velocity Labs who were working to maximize the number of integrations and things that we would get, so that we would have some familiar applications and tools and things like that available on Hub from the start. So that you would have a nice amount of liquidity, you'd have the familiar tools, familiar apps and things, and it would just feel like part of the wider sort of EVM ecosystem, right? That then changed, and instead it's gone for a more soft rollout, let's say. So we haven't launched with that big bang, which you might see and expect like a hockey stick reaction. Instead, we've gone with a much more subtle release it and I guess build it up from there. Liquidity will be a challenge, of course, with that rollout, because without apps or without liquidity to draw those apps, it's going to be a big challenge. I think we're waiting to see the products that Parity are building. Sounds like there's some exciting things they're trying to work on there. And perhaps these will be interesting enough to sort of bring in some new development talent, etc. So I think, liquidity initially might be a bit of a challenge. It's in a strategic shift. Now let's just sort of wait, I guess, and see where that strategic shift takes us. What are the new priorities, and how do things go from there?
Yeah, liquidity is really a challenge for every DeFi and for every platform that are gonna to attract users. So for this topic, I wanna hear the perspective from Tyrone and Sean as well. So do you guys have something to add about what's your take on how to attract liquidity on Polkadot Hub? Sean and Tyrone, who wanna kick it off?
Yeah, I can maybe speak on this, and I would say that the answer to this question is less of how do we attract liquidity, but more of how do we make use of the liquidity that we already have. So to start with, the foundation, the fundamental foundation of any DeFi ecosystem is usually the liquid staked assets, right? These liquid staked assets are used in lending, they're used in DEXs, they're used all across the ecosystem. They are as ubiquitous as stablecoins themselves. They're in fact like you could see them as like the stablecoins of the ecosystem in a sense. And up until now, we've not seen the proliferation of liquid stake assets in the Polkadot ecosystem, right? Ethereum notably has around 30% of all its staking assets liquid staked. So these assets are liquid and they're used in DeFi. Polkadot is much less than that, around 1 to 2%. And I think the issue with this has always been like, okay, if just because of the parachain model, essentially the liquid staking protocol was a parachain, and I guess the stakers didn't want to give up all that liquidity to a parachain that essentially the parachain is now holding more assets than the value of the parachain token itself, right? Especially when you consider parachain governance. But now with Hub, I think we can start to see high penetration of liquid staking because the governance of Hub is the governance of Polkadot, right? So there's no relinquishing of the assets to a third-party parachain. And so I think fundamentally, until we see this high penetration of liquid staked assets, which then make their way into things like lending, things like DEXs, and the like, it's going to be very difficult to so-called attract liquidity, right? Like to attract liquidity from outside, because people who are coming in are not going to come into an empty party, right? They want to see that there's already a party happening and there's already assets and there's demand for assets and there's applications that are using all these different assets before they then bring their own external liquidity. So this is my take on the so-called liquidity problem. I don't think it's a chicken and egg problem at all. I think it's like, we just have to utilize what we already have to the max, and then once we exceed that, then there will be like actual demand for external liquidity.
Yeah, great point. Tyron, do you have something to add?
So Sean has been covered this quite well. We used to emphasize the penetration of liquid staking for a couple of years. So that's quite important, right? Because in Ethereum mainnet, you can see that's about above 10% of penetration in liquid staking. So let's say, if the market cap of a project is 1 trillion, so which means there's 100 million of liquidity inside of the ecosystem. And but that's the different case in Polkadot. Bifrost have accumulated around 20 million DOT, right, in staking for liquid staking. But if you can see the total staking of Polkadot is about 10 times of this volume. So that's the reason why that we cannot see much of utilities to bring up the liquidity of stablecoins. And I think that this one just one case. And right now we have our native liquid staking, we have our native stablecoin Holla, and what we can expecting next is what protocol that can be migrated to the EVM and a Polkadot EVM and see what can be happen next. So yeah, I fully agree with Sean's one.
Okay, thanks for sharing. It's really a great chance and also a very challenging thing to do. So we're just an open topic to explore more possibilities. So back to Ben, Hydration is also preparing to launch perpetual products. And do you have plans to, how to make the perpetual product different from the already hyped product like Aster and hyperliquidity, or do you have a very complete different strategy for hydration or what else?
Yeah, so the strategy is fundamentally quite different. I don't think our ambition is to compete, let's say, with the likes of Hyperliquid as being the number one venue for, I mean, at the moment, pretty much everything, but let's just say for perpetuals, right? It's more a case of using perpetuals to complement the rest of the stack in a way that empowers all of the products. So one of the things you require for perpetuals is obviously some collateral for your positions to be liquidated against. A lot of the time, this takes the form of stable coins. Previously, ones that weren't earning any kind of yield or anything themselves. So you've got a declining position when you consider inflation and the likes. Obviously, more recently, you've seen Hyperliquid with their Athena stablecoin launch, as well as USDH launching, which are sort of more yield-bearing based collateral. But ultimately, people don't always want to be holding stablecoins. Sometimes people want to be holding, they'll have a core Bitcoin holding or some Ethereum or DOT or whatever that they want to keep, and they want to maintain those positions, but they might want to speculate on immediate price movements, right? So with perpetuals, we're seeing people wanting to bet on price movements without necessarily holding the underlying. So they may have different ambitions for what they want to hold, what they want to make up their core positions, and what they want to speculate on. So by hydration integrating perpetuals, we can use the existing money market with Holler, where people can earn yield on their base collateral, and then take out speculative positions through perpetuals on top of that. You also need to make sure you've got some spot liquidity available to be able to close some positions during volatile events. When people are getting liquidated, the closer you are to the spot liquidity, the more efficiently you can liquidate those. So having an all-in-one DeFi stack where it's all in together, you're bringing more products that can bring more fees onto the same liquidity. So you're sort of more efficiently creating yield. The other thing is that there are many strategies that require perpetuals to execute on. So let's say delta neutral positions, you want to farm available yield. People want to take longs or they want to take shorts, and you want to get funding by taking the other side. You can do so in a delta neutral way, and by bringing all the spot liquidity trades and the perpetuals all into one place, you can take that whole position in one place. So recently, sort of around Christmas time, there was a great opportunity where on Hyperliquid, with the market moving down constantly, people were getting paid, I think at one point, like 50-60% APR to hold a dot long. And actually you could buy, if you had stables on Hyperliquid, you could, and some on hydration, you could have in theory take and borrowed dot on hydration for, I think it was like 9% at the time. You could have sold that into stable coins, which you then provide as collateral, and then taken a long out on Hyperliquid, and you could have made like 50-60% APR. It'd be much nicer to be able to do that all in one place, rather than having to sort of shuffle liquidity around and take the positions accordingly. Obviously, there's ways of doing that, earning money whilst you're long, but it'd be great to do that where the users are and bring them all into one place.
Any idea of when the perpetual product is going to launch?
No, unfortunately, it's not super immediate. We've got some things we're focusing on at the moment with regards to bringing alternative sources of yield to hydration. I'm going to release a piece fairly soon to describe sort of Jacob's vision on this. We've been having discussions in our forum, but essentially, obviously, we're not in the best time at the moment in crypto with the way that the market's moving. Meanwhile, we are seeing things like precious metals and RWAs and stocks and everything just like hitting new all-time highs constantly, and people are pivoting more and more into wanting these in their portfolios, and we're seeing more of these products come on chain. We want to bring those as many of these interesting products to hydration so that you can earn yield whilst you're on hydration. Being a credit provider through the likes of Holla is a great revenue generator. And obviously we're looking to try and make the protocol completely, self-sufficient and a great place that people can earn yield. So we're currently exploring 3, 4, 5 different products that we can bring some interesting yield sources. So US prime mortgages, Brazilian creator content creator economy debts and things like that, all on chain with various different products that can earn 18% APR, and then you can potentially borrow against that to leverage that more. So we're trying to bring some of these products in. Some other bits we're trying to tidy up in terms of improving the UX on some of the features, and then hopefully we'll have some clear space to prioritize bringing that fourth pillar to hydration.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a great plan for hydration, and I think counting to the successful of DeFi and Bridge plays a very important role, and I think Hyperbridge focus on how Polkadot truly opens up to the outside world, and Hyperbridge also released the Hyperbridge SDK, and they reduced the developers' burden a lot. So, Shawan, could you share with our audience in more details, like for teams building applications on Polkadot Hub, what capabilities or advantages do they gain by default, and why these capabilities, whether in terms of security, reliability, or usability, still difficult to other ecosystem to replicate today?
Definitely. So, I mean, we recently released our storage query API, and this is, I would say, the part of Hyperbridge that I'm most excited for. The storage query API essentially allows you to query what is the storage of any contract, of any address on chain, right? And this really opens developers up to new kinds of applications, right? So for instance, you could have prediction markets that are entirely about like on-chain events or on-chain assets, right? Like, will BTC hit some specific price? And you can read this information directly from, for instance, the BTC USDT markets on Ethereum mainnets, right? And these markets could settle like entirely permissionlessly, unlike the existing prediction markets that actually have humans settle these markets, right? And I think this is also very important because there's like Kalshi that I think really is a juxtaposition of what prediction markets really are. Like Kalshi doesn't even have contracts on chain; they're an entirely centralized service. And the user experience is not very different from like Polymarket, right? Like it's essentially the same thing. And so the real difference between a decentralized prediction market is that these prediction markets are settled in a decentralized and permissionless way. So stuff like this, being able to access on-chain data, I think, can unlock, truly on-chain markets like these, amongst other kinds of applications, right? I would say the reason why we don't see things like Hyperbridge in other ecosystems is very simply because the finality, like the finality mechanism that Polkadot has built is still honestly the best in class in the industry, right? So we're talking about roll-ups finalizing in 30 seconds, right? Like Ethereum, it's been 3-4 years now since they launched L2s, and the fastest L2 finalizes in an hour. This is not possible, right? This is not a place where you can host something like Hyperbridge, which is like ingesting all this like cryptographic proofs and needs to be finalized almost immediately. And so this is why Polkadot continues to be the best place to host something like Hyperbridge, right? I think developers are going to be very, very like they're going to find themselves at home with our APIs. We've simplified the interoperability model into just 2 APIs: post messages for sending cross-chain messages, and get messages or get requests for reading, contract storage or any kind of storage that you need. And of course, intents as well for more application layer things. So if you have a DeFi protocol, you have a DEX protocol, you have a prediction markets protocol, whatever, and you want to be able to easily onboard liquidity into your application, our intents products will be very instrumental for these kinds of applications as well.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for sharing. And this is a thing that only can happen on Polkadot. And Hyperbridge already, get the tech ready and get the tech ready. So we're all looking forward to what applications can deploy it on Polkadot Hub. So to close, let's allow ourselves to think a bit more boldly. For 2026 on Polkadot Hub, what is the one thing you most hope to see happen, or you can, or even more boldly, what do you believe will almost certainly happen in 2026 on Polkadot Hub? So who wanna kick it off? How about Tyrone?
Yeah. What will certainly happen? The first thing I think is not protocols like Moco or like Pando. This kind of like forked projects will be entered in the Polkadot EVM in this year. That's what the Velocity Hub told me. So that's why I can say that's a certain thing. And some things are building up some things in the hackathon, and they released one. Hope to see much of familiar utilities that can be built here. So that's the fundamental of a DeFi in this EVM. But is not not too fun to see what news can really happen here. So what's certain in the new trend, I think, is Polkadot Hub. The finalizing is quite shortly. So which makes AI agent can be easily implemented here and doing the extractions quickly. So I guess the Polkadot Hub EVM or PVM can be the a really great place to incubate these kind of scenarios here, and hopefully the trend and also the Polkadot strategy that they can see the PayFi or the AI agent will be certainly the next thing will happen in this industry. So that will be also the next hot part to catching up in the next period. So that's what I can see.
Okay. Yeah. AI and PayFi and some migration applications. Yeah, great. Yes, makes sense. So Ben, what's your take on this?
I'm just sitting and waiting to see what comes from the proof of personhood, the app side of things. Obviously, those who are at Sub-Zero got to see a little glimmer of the beta app at the time. And I've heard a number of times around, the building some things which are very different to what we're used to and what's out there currently. It's obviously all quite secretive at the moment. So yeah, we don't know what those look like, but sitting and waiting to see that really. Obviously we already discussed the DeFi side. So I just, want to see what some of these new things are, right? So rather than just, because obviously Polkadot Hub has got EVM on it, and that's great, but Polkadot Hub is more than that. It is, the center of Polkadot, and there's a lot of products being built on that by Parity themselves. So Mostly in 2026, I'll just be waiting to see what those are, and then what can we build around that, right? So proof of personhood's an interesting concept. Perhaps we can build some cool new DeFi products around those things. So yeah, I think that's the sort of key thing for me.
Yeah, POP is the thing that only happens in Polkadot. They're very excited to see the innovation product happening soon. So last but not least, Sean, do you have something to add?
Right. So the things that I think will definitely happen, I think Hyperbridge is going to dominate asset flows into Hub, especially with our Intense product. I think the things that may happen, I would love to see happen, would be to see Hub become the back end for the sort of neo finance products that people are building these days, sort of neo banking and everything along that neo finance stack, whether it's crypto cards, what have you, because these are the things that are really going to scale to the masses, right? Like we've always talked about how people, like crypto wins when people are using it without even actually knowing it's crypto, right? Because I think crypto Twitter is generally an echo chamber, right? It's only people who are really super, like, I would say, have no lives and make crypto their entire life. Those are the people who are on crypto Twitter. And this is not adoption. Adoption is when everyday people who do not give a fuck about what is scalable and what is the latest in blockchain technology and which chain has the fastest TPS. Like, adoption happens when these everyday people are using this technology, right? So new finance and new banking, these are the things that are starting to look like the vectors in which crypto will penetrate the everyday lives of people. And so I would hope to see like Hub take a strategic steps towards onboarding these kinds of players and onboarding these kinds of products. I mean, I hold a lot of USDT on Hub. I would be nice to have a card to spend that USDT rather than having to transfer it to like BNB chain and Polygon, which have a lot of products on those chains that I can use to spend my USDT, right? So these are the things that I would definitely hope for. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Yeah, we really hope can see that there are products that are close to people's life and to have to let people forget about all the tech stuff. This is the dreaming that we all have a few years ago, but I think 2026 it's have almost to happen. So yeah, may everything goes smooth and well on Polkadot Hub in 2026. So far so good. We've touched the different aspect of the Polkadot Hub on our conversation, and later we will also summarize our conversation to the test and publish on our WeChat account, and also we will have some highlight clip for second distribution. So thanks for watching, and thanks for all of our guests for sharing, and let's keep updated to the Polkadot Hub progress, and hope you guys can join our podcast next time if there's more progress. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good to talk.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.